So just like yesterday, we're only in quadrant 1, right? We don't have the rest of our coordinate plane happening here because time is positive. Our distances are positive, right? We're dealing with a lot of positive things. Okay, so we have a situation up here. Herb, my board. Why do I have to do this every day? Do your other teachers have to calibrate their boards every day?
No.
Just me. Okay, I gotta figure that out. We don't need as perfect today. We're not plotting graphs. So. Okay, so you turn on the hot water faucet. Okay. The temperature of the running water depends on the number of seconds you turned on the faucet. Okay, so you go to wash your hands. You turn on the sink faucet, okay, and we are talking about the temperature of the water versus time that it's been turned on. Okay, so first thing we need to do if we want to graph this is make sure we have good labels. So we said yesterday, right, our independent variable was going here, and our dependent variable was going here. So if we look at this situation, what is our independent variable? Seconds, right? Because we said the majority of the time, if we weren't for sure, it was something pertaining to time. Okay, so down here on our graph, we're going to put seconds. Okay, our y-axis is going to be our dependent variable. What's that going to be in this one? The temperature. Okay, so the water temp. What is this point right here?
0.
Okay, and what do we mean by 0? What does this say? How many seconds have passed?
Nothing.
No seconds. And what is the temperature of the water?
0.
0, because the origin is the point 0, 0. Right? This is literally the point x comma y of 0, 0. So our x label is seconds. Our y label is water temperature. So 0 seconds have passed and the water temperature is 0. What does a water temperature of 0 degrees mean?
Super cold.
Yeah, not only super cold,
hypothermia.
Yeah, like ice cubes, right? Because when does ice freeze?
53 degrees.
No,
32.
32 degrees. Okay, so we have ice cubes at 32 degrees. So when we turn on our water faucet, is the water that comes out 0 degrees? No, because that would mean turning on the water faucet and ice cubes coming out, right? Because we'd be below 32 degrees. So do we want to start at 0, 0?
No.
No. So when we turn on the water, what is the temperature of the water? Now, it's the hot faucet, but maybe you have a miracle house. I don't have a miracle house. I turn on the hot water faucet, and what comes out? Cold water. Right? Cold water is the first thing that comes out. How cold is that water?
Not that above 30.
Right above 32 degrees. Probably a little bit chillier than room temperature. Okay, but whatever, we're approximating. So the water comes out and it's here. So we're starting here.
When my hot water gets hot enough, it's boiling hot. It's bad.
You need to change the setting on your water heater.
My mom only uses it when she does dishes. After she's done doing dishes, I go to wash my hands and I get burned.
Yeah. Okay, so once the water's running, what happens for the first 5 seconds of the water running?
It's cold. It's trying to heat up.
It stays kind of the same temperature for a little bit, right? So what does that look like if we have the same water temperature for a while? A constant temperature, and so we're here. And then what happens?
Starts to heat up.
It starts to heat up. Is it instantly hot?
No.
No, right? So how would we represent that the temperature starts to increase?
Kind of like a straight line, but kind of at an angle going up.
Okay, so we want something that's going upwards.
But at a certain angle.
Maybe a little bit of a curve type of thing, because it doesn't necessarily, right? Mine kind of starts to get warm and I'm like, ooh, I think I feel it getting warm. Ooh, I think I feel, oh, yeah, that's hot. Right? It kind of like slowly happens and all of a sudden it's like hot. So probably maybe something like this. And then what happens?
It's hot.
Does it just keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hot? No, then what happens?
Constant.
Right? Then it stops getting any hotter and it levels out. And then we're here. Now, you might go, well, that's a simple situation, but that's a lot of things to think about. Because most of my students, when they read this problem to start with, especially at the middle school level, would draw a line in like this and go, oh, the temperature of the water is increasing. Increasing means an uphill line. Well, yeah, in a very, very basic situation, it does. But where does the temperature start at? How is it increasing? You know what I'm saying? How much more detailed and specific we're being now than we were probably a few years ago. How do we feel about that one? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Where are we at? Okay. Maybe a little bit in here. Number 2. As you play with a yo-yo, the yo-yo's distance from the floor depends on the number of seconds that have passed since you started. Okay, so what labels do we want to put on our graph? Seconds where?
Dependent.
Okay, so on the X
Yeah,
is going to be our
independent.
seconds. I'm not going to give you like a quiz over independent and dependent. I want you to know that you're putting time on the X-axis.
And then the other one, the y-axis is
Distance, yeah.
Distance from the floor, right? The yo-yo's distance from the floor. Now, we need to actually do someone who can yo-yo's yo-yo experience.
I can yo.
I am only a mediocre yo-yoer.
I can yo.
I can yo-yo fantastic if it's one of the cheat yo-yos.
Oh yeah, one of the
You know, that like automatically come back up? Those are my friend.
I can yo.
Other yo-yos, I don't know, I end up with a knot in the string and maybe I just get annoyed because I'm like helping my daughter and I'm like, you can't yo-yo, please stop asking me to help you. Okay, so here we go. As you play with the yo-yo, so we're playing with yo-yo, we get a yo-yo. What's the first thing that happens when we get a yo-yo? I'm holding it in my hand. So where is that at?
0.
Is that at 0? If I'm holding the yo-yo here, is it here? What does this represent?
0 seconds.
0 seconds and
distance from the
0 distance from the floor.
Oh, wait.
Is the yo-yo 0 distance from the floor?
No.
No, right? Because it's off the floor. So I need to start up there somewhere. Is it reasonable for me to start all the way up here?
No.
What? No. What's wrong with that?
It's off.
I'm a giant, right? So maybe something like this. Okay. So I'm starting here. We're at a starting point. Okay, good. Maybe you're taller than me. Maybe you put your yo-yo up here higher. Right? That's kind of a little bit negotiable there. Is it a 6-foot yo-yoer or a child yo-yoer? We don't know. Okay, then what happens?
Well, you hold it here, so when you like, doesn't it go down?
Okay, so I'm no professional yo-yoer here. I don't have a yo-yo. Don't get too excited. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? I need to get a yo-yo. Okay, so I'm holding on to the yo-yo, right, in my hands. Got the yo-yo, got the yo-yo. What's the first thing that I do?
Put it on your finger.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I got the little thing on my finger. I got that.
Then you just throw it.
Do I just kind of go?
On the bottom and then it goes back up.
No.
No, what do I kind of have to do?
Why does it not bounce at all?
It's like a heavy, it absorbs it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you kind of got to like give it a little bit of force down, right? So what's happening to its distance from the floor to start with?
It's getting closer.
It is getting closer to the floor, but how? At a constant rate, at a varying rate?
It's not really constant. I mean, unless you make it. But...
Right, because what's the first thing I do? I sort of throw it, right? And so when I sort of throw it down, I'm sending it down fast.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the bottom, and then what happens to the yo-yo?
It goes back up.
Instantly?
No.
No.
What does it kind of do?
Kind of.
Right, those forces kind of have to change. Right, there's a good science lesson. Sorry, we're not in science class. Right? But that energy that it has, right, as it gets to the bottom is then transferring to come up in the other direction. So don't write this down. So I don't want to do this, right? Because that's not what's happening, right? We're agreeing that's sort of at a variable rate going up and down. So what do we need to do with our line to make it variable?
It's like a curve.
Right? We need to have it curved. We're kind of throwing it down, so it's kind of going quickly, and then it sort of plateaus out before it comes back up. Now, do I want my yo-yo to do this?
No.
What's wrong if my yo-yo does that?
Touches the ground.
And what happens if it hits the ground?
The whole thing
Fails.
and not.
Right? Bad yo-yo experience. Okay? What are you confused about? Okay, so let's rewind for a second because I want you to understand. Darn it, I don't have any yarn either. Okay.
Yeah.
Holding this in my hand. This is gonna be my pretend yo-yo. Right? I got it wrapped around my finger. Okay? Rolling up my yo-yo, rolling up my yo-yo. Okay, so I'm holding it like this. Above the ground. So what is the distance of my keys from the ground right now? Is it on the ground or is it above the ground? Above. Okay, so I'm starting above the ground. Okay, now I'm gonna let go of my yo-yo. I don't wanna like launch these and then hit someone, but pretend I'm kind of like throwing my yo-yo down. Now what happens to my keys? They're closer to the ground. Okay, now these are weighted, these aren't quite like a yo-yo, but once it gets down here, right, a yo-yo kind of spins a little bit and then it starts to wrap itself back up. So as it's wrapping itself back up, now what's happening to the yo-yo's distance from the ground?
It's going back.
It's going back up. And then what happens?
It goes down.
It goes back down.
Oh, okay.
And then what happens? Right? So we got kind of this thing going on. Now, if you're me, okay, I'm trying to keep these distances down the same, right? Because the string is always the same length.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but if you're me, probably somewhere in here it wipes out and it hits the ground and I get annoyed or something.
I wonder who created the yo-yo. I could just thought.
I don't know. We'll have to Google that later.
Yo-yos are so much.
How do we feel about that one?
I've never put it together.
Sort of, kind of, maybe?